So there was this super hot guy named Jonah. Everyone was always rolling on him. It was really cute. I was really excited because that day he came up to me at my locker and he was like, hey, so you doing anything tonight? And I was like, no. And he was like, do you want to maybe come to my party? Inside, I was literally screaming because I was like, oh my god, the hottest guy ever just asked me out. And I was like, yeah, sure. But inside, I was obviously like exploding. So then I ran home, asked my sister to take me to the party, and it was really good. It was going great. We got pizza and everything. And Jonah said, do you want to help me? I kind of stubbed my toe and I can't find the Band-Aids. So I was like, are you sure? I didn't ask him, but I was like, I'm pretty sure you didn't, but whatever, let's go in. So we went into his room. We were just sitting and laughing, and we just had so much fun talking, and I really, got to know him better. And then we were like still looking for the Band-Aids, and we were like, where are they? And then we sat back down on the floor, and I was like, oh my god, is he leaning in for a kiss? And I straight up put my tongue in his mouth and kissed him. And he was like, wait, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, well, you leaned in for a kiss. And he was like, you have the Band-Aids behind you. They were under my bed. And I was like, oh my god. Like, I almost shot myself there. It was so awkward. I was like hoping that he would say, but like that was good or it was worth it. But he was in the like biggest silence ever. Like I could literally hear the crickets, and I was like, I gotta go, okay? And then like his friends were waiting outside because they were like, oh, are you okay, Jonah? I don't know. I just started crying. Everyone the next day was like, did you really kiss Jonah? And then I was like, oh my god, what a mean person Jonah is. I'm telling everyone. I went up to Jonah, I was like, why would you do that? It was an accident. He was like, he didn't tell, like his friends heard. And I was like, oh, sorry about that. Also, just an FYI, I am gay. That's why I haven't been kissing any girls, I'm gay. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm right now in 8th grade, and me and Jonah are best friends, and now I don't kiss him by accident because I know he's gay. So yeah, that's my story.
When I was in grade 8, I had a best friend named Chloe. We hung out on the swings at recess, we sat together at lunch and traded sandwiches from time to time, and we always took the same bus home after school. We were like two peas in a pod, rarely separated. Well, that soon changed when Chloe got a boyfriend halfway through the year. He was a boy named Tom that was known as one of the school's biggest bullies. Everyone was extremely intimidated by him and tried to stay on his good side. Once, I had seen him throw a kid's backpack over the roof of the school for no reason. He just seemed to take pleasure in ruining people's days. So when Chloe asked me to sit with him and his friends at lunch every day, I couldn't say no. I didn't want to lose her as a friend, and I didn't want to upset him. So I pretended to support their relationship, even though I knew Tom was a bad guy. Well, one day a new girl named Jenna was introduced to our class. She looked very shy and nervous and had no one to sit with at lunch, so she sat by herself. I timidly asked Tom and his friends if I could invite her to sit with us, and they instantly started laughing, as if I had told them a hilarious joke. Tom then picked up a couple chips from his lunch and threw them over at her table where she was quietly reading a book. She looked startled but didn't try to stand up for herself. I remember feeling so bad for her in that moment, but I didn't have the courage to say anything. For the next week, Tom and his friends would bother her during lunchtime. They would roll up pieces of paper to throw in her hair and would constantly call her the weird loner girl. I was so shocked that Chloe was allowing her boyfriend to treat another human being this way, and I started feeling really embarrassed that I was sitting with these horrible bullies. Because by not standing up for Jenna, I looked like one too. So the next day I finally decided to make a change, even if I knew it would impact me negatively. So instead of sitting with Chloe and Tom, I went and sat beside Jenna. She looked really happy to finally have someone to keep her company. But right away, I noticed that Tom and his friends were giving me dirty looks and whispering to each other. And it didn't take long for them to start treating me the way they did her. Crumpled paper was thrown at me, and I was beginning to be called Weird Girl Number 2. But all I can think was, at least Jenna isn't going through this alone. I finally decided that this was enough and took Jenna with me to see the principal. We tried the best we could to tell her what was happening, but she told us that if there was no proof of bullying, she couldn't do anything. Whenever a teacher was around, Tom would act normal, and the minute she left the room, for a few minutes, he would continue harassing us. It was a very difficult time, but every time Jenna would tell me how thankful she was for my friendship, it was so worth it. So one day I heard that there was a hate page online about Jenna that was started by Tom and his friends. It had an unbelievable amount of likes and follows on it. They would take pictures of her and post them with terrible captions. They would quote things that she said and gossip about some of the things she did during the day. And as unfortunate and sick as it was finally the proof we needed to give to the principal. The police actually ended up getting involved, and Jenna was never picked on again after that. I'm very proud of myself for stepping out of my comfort zone to stand up for her, because if I didn't, I'm not sure if she would have had the confidence to do it herself. Some people need that extra push from someone else that is willing to support them. So if you ever see someone being bullied, don't just be a bystander, do something about it. Your actions could greatly change someone's life for the better.
Me and my sisters didn't get along, and I could never understand why. They bullied me, tormented me for a long time as a kid. They would dress me up like a girl, telling me that I should have been a female so that I could fit in because nobody wants a brother. They would tell me hateful things because I love to eat. They hurt, they teased, they ridiculed. It was terrifying. Despite my mother doing her best, she was never home long enough to enforce the rules because she had to take care of us. She had to keep us alive and food in the house and a roof over our heads. As the teenage years came to roll around, the once verbal teasing and emotional trauma ended up turning into violence. Eventually, the violence got so bad that I felt I couldn't be safe in the house anymore. My mom felt the same way, and she sent me to live with my uncle because there was nowhere else I could go. For a little while, things were okay, and then out of the blue, my uncle got evicted, which took me out of a place to live. I found myself at Central Park, and ironically enough, this is when Pokemon Go was a big thing, so it was really easy to blend into crowds because everyone was running around Central Park looking for Pokemon, and it didn't look weird for this chubby kid to be sitting down, on a cracked phone, just sitting to himself. I was hungry. I didn't have any money for food. And I found myself at McDonald's, and this group of teenage kids was asking if anyone wanted the food that they weren't going to eat because they didn't want to throw it away, and they ended up leaving it by the door. I waited a couple of minutes before I took it. And on the fourth night, I was assaulted by a group of people. They proceeded to beat on me until they figured it just wasn't fun anymore. But after it was over, I took my broken phone out of my pocket and I called my mom. We go about searching for places, and that place led me to an adolescent shelter called Covenant House. I find myself with friends, not camouflaging myself in my pain, but embracing it and finding connections. They're giving me this sense of hope, this faith that things can be better. I find myself connecting to my mother and knowing that she knows that I'm okay. I found my redemption in Covenant House, and I'm hoping that while I was here, that people have found redemption in me too.